Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Randy's Old Time Radio Shows. And prepare yourselves for a journey beyond time, beyond logic, and possibly beyond grading curves. Tonight, we open the portal to Dr. Dimension, the thrilling, chilling, and occasionally confusing chronicles of one slightly off-centered college professor and brave, bewildered students who cracked the code of time travel and decided to ride the chaos like it's part of the curriculum. With a whir of gears and a questionable safety plan, they tumble through time, never quite knowing where or when they'll land. So buckle in, adjust your lab goggles, and whatever you do, don't touch the blinking button. This is Dr. Dimension.
Excuse my bad manners. I am Dr. Demetrius Demopoulos, and this bodacious blonde of a figure here is Diane Derry. And that mindless hunk is called Troy Talbot. And what are you called, sir?
My name is Spawn.
Spawn, eh? Well, pleased to meet you.
Gladness is in my circulatory pump.
I'm hungry again. I sure could use some more of those Heinz pork and beans. I lost that can I had.
What did you say?
I said I was hungry. You wouldn't have any human being food around, would you?
No, I mean what you said about what you were hungry for.
Well, Heinz beans, of course. Pork and beans, to be precise.
That's it. That's what I've been looking for. You say you've got the Heinz beans?
Yep.
The sacred 57 varieties. The very foundation of our metaphysical alchemy.
You mean?
Yes, it makes great rocket fuel. Take me back to your ship. Get me some of your supplies of that wonderful stuff, and I can save us all.
Oh, I remember it all now.
You remember? You remember what?
The vision.
What are you talking about, man?
That drink they gave me, it gave me a vision of the Prunian conceptual philosophy of the universe. And that pop on the jaw, it made it all fall into place. I see it all now. It's beautiful. It's spectacular. It all falls into place. Oh, catharsis. Oh, holy vision. Oh, hallelujah.
Dr. Dimension, Episode 10.
In the company of their new ally, Spawn, our intrepid heroes made their way back to the Mudlark. It was by no means an easy affair. Dr. D half wished now that indeed he had left a trail of beans or string or something. There were so many twists and turns and side tunnels, and they all looked pretty much the same. Without the aid of compass or sextant, which was Dr. D's favorite choice of direction finder purely because of its name, or even a Heinz-baked bean detector, trying to figure out which was the right way was quite difficult. Fortunately, Diane Derry's sense of direction was the absolutely best the doctor had ever seen a woman possessed of. Before long, the Mudlark loomed before them.
Well, there it is, Spawn, the Mudlark. Stranded, but absolutely full of beans.
The alien capered up, his eye stalks wiggling about with great curiosity. It examined the bolted metalwork of the ship's hull, then rapped it hard with one of its 4-digit hands, making a small dent.
What sort of ridiculous alloy is this?
Aluminum mixed with titanium.
Sounds more like cookware than a space vessel. In the port?
That's a base.
No. You said you'd get me a drink when I got here, and I prefer a large glass of port.
Sorry. I didn't bring any alcoholic beverages, alas. Most certainly would have if I knew we were going to meet you. I could use a drink right about now myself.
Yes, could we all? So, how do you get into this thing?
The hole in the bottom.
How anal dementive.
You mean anal retentive? That's our 2 stowaways we left behind.
No, anal dementive.
I don't think I'm going to ask what that means.
Hey, Doc, the barn door's open. Dr. Vernon, Dr. Westman, we're back. Maybe they're snoozing.
You go first and check, Talbot. I believe we're sufficiently well announced.
Okay, Doc, right away.
A brave soul.
No, just very dumb. You know, Doc, if you keep on going like this, you're going to get that big darling of mine killed.
What?
Why do I get the feeling that he's going to get us killed before I manage to get him killed?
We have a saying among our race. The clumsy are often the charmed. Small pricks at the karma bubble are better than gigantic blows. Ouch. What a doofus.
Watch out down there. I think some stuff fell down.
Amazingly distorted time sense.
Troy means well.
I don't see hide nor hair of Drs. Vernon or Westman.
You checked the bathroom?
Yeah, nothing.
The bar?
We haven't got a bar.
First order of business, Diane. Next time we head out for the hinterlands of outer space, we stock a bar.
Check, Dr. D. But I didn't think you were a drinking man.
I'm taking it up as of the first chance I get. Come on, let's get up into the ship.
Do you think your friends wandered off exploring?
They were specifically ordered not to leave the ship.
How can we explain this high-heeled shoe over here?
It's Dr. Vernon?
Who else wears stiletto heels?
What is it, Doctor?
This heel. It's cocked at an odd angle, and there's something inside of it. Some sort of capsule or something. It's some kind of code book. It appears to be in Russian. It would appear that our Dr. Vivian Vernon is even busier than we thought.
Gosh, she's taking Russian studies, too?
She's moonlighting as a Russian professor?
She's a Soviet spy, you nincompoop.
Oh, I thought they were on our side. I mean, aren't they pioneering a new social system that's based on compassion and caring and brotherhood and like that?
Troy, you sound like a radical.
Well, I'm a card-carrying member of the Students, Workers, Farmers Alliance for Peace, Prosperity, and Social Equality.
What's that?
A student radical socialist group.
I don't know, Troy. It sounds a little un-American.
Oh, heck, radical socialism is as American as cherry pie.
That political stuff is millions of miles away. To hell with it. Right now, we've got other things to think about.
You mean how it's apparent that the prunes have carried off Vernon and Woodman?
To hell with them, too. We want to get out of this stinking place. And fast!
I think, in light of this discovery, that it's not a bad idea. It looks as though we may have done our country a service without realizing it.
What a waste. What a bustin' hits, too. Oh, well. C'est la vie, c'est la guerre, Burmaches. Come on. Let's show you what we're packing inside this boat.
Gesturing for the alien to follow him, Dr. Demopoulos began to ascend the ladder. The laugh sounded like a Bronx cheer by a bunch of monkeys in a swimming pool of raspberries. Fortunately, no alien saliva sprayed on Dr. D. Otherwise, he would have been really ticked off.
You've got a problem with my space-time drive?
Oh, no, not at all. Pardon my mirth. I'm being much too rude. So, this is the very heart, the very quintessential core of the ship.
Yeah, well...
I'm surprised. Your technology is more sophisticated than I thought. Clearly, you are quite influenced by the internal commotion machine.
You mean the internal combustion machine?
Wasn't that what you were working on last year, Doc? The eternal commotion machine?
No, you dunce. That was the perpetual commotion. Perpetual motion machine.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, whatever it was, it made a bunch of noise.
Well, you've jammed all your rotogyros, and your gravito initial stabilizers are absolutely useless. I'm afraid this engine is totally screwed up. However, not to despair, for it just so happens that with those Heinz beans you promised me, hope is available.
You mean to fix it?
No, to inspire me to tinker together an entirely new kind of space drive. The quantum fuzzy drive.
Can you do that without new parts?
Well, it's just a matter of taking out some parts from your drive. Unfortunately, there are some disadvantages that way.
Oh? Such as?
Navigation problems.
That's nothing new with us. If you can fix this crate, do so, please, with our blessing.
I can't do beans without the Heinz. Must have spiritual inspiration.
Diane, serve 'em up.
Dr. D's appetite, however, was not exactly keen for anything, much less beans. And so as Troy and Spawn happily took their steaming mugs of the delicious and nutritious and heaven knows cosmic treat, he just looked down mopily at his tattered space-time drive and then back up at their alien guest technician.
Quantum fuzzy drive?
Quantum fuzzy drive.
How exactly does it work?
Well, you see, it's quite simple. It's a machine that gives to gross objects the same quantum uncertainty that little subatomic thingies have. I.e., you never know what the heck they're doing. They're here, they're there. You don't know their momentum. You don't know beans about them. Oh, I made it funny. And thus they propel your vessel through fantastic distances of space.
Sounds good to me.
And you can rebuild my engine to do this?
In a trice.
Yeah, but can you do it fast?
Absolutely. However, there is just one eensy-weensy kind of problem.
You did speak of some disadvantages.
It isn't really a disadvantage. Actually, it's a major problem. Trouble is, when the shit goes quantum fuzzy, you never know where it's going to wind up.
Oh, dear! How precise we scientists are in this universe.
Yeah, but it'll be away from here, right?
True. Very true.
Well, then that's all right then. We can modify it to our specifications. And besides, it's really not much different from the way it worked before, but now we have a name for it.
So you're hoping to end up in the middle of another space battle so that we can attract Krillman's attention again?
Well, hopefully not Crowman, per se. But definitely the AAA. And then they can take me back here and jumpstart my ship.
You can fool with this, but not with your own?
This is much simpler. Besides, you've got the baked beans. A vital inspiration for contemplating the essential chaos that underlies all natural phenomena.
Gee, you better make it quick. We've got company.
Let me look out that viewport. There's a bunch of strange-looking aliens in robes marching down the corridor with holsters bearing ray guns.
Yikes. I need more time than that. Doctor, you've got to stall them.
Stall them!
Just a few minutes. That's all I need.
Dr. D could feel the decided tread of panic upon the nether regions of his spine. An unusual sensation, not one that he experienced often. Spawn grabbed the tool case and proceeded to work away with lightning speed upon the motor under the open hood.
Hey, Doc, they all look like Groucho Marx.
Those look like masks, Troy, and they're not very good ones at that.
They mostly just use it to hide their noses. Details later.
What can we do to stall them? Where's that shotgun of mine?
Violence is not recommended. They have far more firepower than you.
What can we do? Are they vulnerable in any way?
Well, no. They're fairly powerful. Oh, wait. I remember something about them. They don't like music.
Music? How can that help us?
I mean, they really hate it. Along with a lot of other things.
Hey, Doc, you can use this.
A harmonica? Is this yours, Talbot?
Yep, carry it with me always.
But I've never heard you play.
Do it alone mostly, Doc.
Well, you shouldn't play with yourself alone. Okay, it so happens I used to play a little when I was a lad. Well, here goes nothing. Diane, do you sing?
Sing? Why, I really
Well,
never...
you're about to make your debut. Come on.
Dr. D! I really
The
think...
show must go on. Act like a trooper, Diane.
Never thought I'd end up at the Starship Lounge Act.
There's always time enough for love songs. Let's do it!
Diane and Demetrius were clambering down the ladder as another party of prunish creatures, clustered around a prune in a different-colored robe who looked authoritarian, came down the main tube. Behind them marched none other than Doctors Vivian Vernon and Jeffrey Wussman.
It's the professors! They're back!
Lewdness and luxury are their stock in trade, especially that one they call the Demetrius.
Stop it, Wussman. Into a little treachery now, are you? And what's with the get-up, Bib? That dress just isn't you.
I have given up nasty thoughts and actions of all sorts, and no longer will I wantonly display secondary sexual characteristics.
Diane, I think we've been sold down the river. And speaking of rivers, here's our little chanteuse to ask the musical question, Swanee, how I love ya!
They've got something up their sleeves. Grand Prune, they've got something up their sleeves.
What's the matter, guys? Got something against music?
Oh, foul, egregious noise! Oh, horror! Oh, terror!
Top two!
After Diane got through 3 stanzas of the Star-Spangled Banner, the duo did an eclectic medley of 5 numbers. Short and Bread, I Dream of Jeannie, Fascinating Rhythm, Begin the Begin, and the Fleitheimer University Alma Mater. They danced, soft shoeing, then went into a tap routine.
Sword, seize them. Don't let them get away.
Diane, we're ready.
Quick, Diane, up the ladder. Glad you made your new affiliation known, doctors. We won't feel so guilty in leaving you behind.
They're getting away.
Demetrius, don't go up those stairs. Surrender. This is the way of truth and righteousness.
Come back, Doctor, and we'll give you Stanford University.
What in the world are these weirdos talking about?
One of the guards apparently had more willpower than the rest. A badly aimed power ray buzzed past Demetrius, sizzling into the hull. He shimmied up the ladder, the air around him distinctly warmer. Something grabbed his leg. He managed to shake it off and flopped into the hatch with the help of Troy's brawny pole. Hastily, Diane pushed the hatch closed.
I don't know how long we can hold them. Spawn, what's going on in there?
Almost finished, Doctor. Just need to tear out one more superfluous component.
Hurry up!
The entirety of the Mudlark shook as though it had been hit by an 8.1 Richter scale earthquake. Dr. D slipped and slid back down the ladder, tumbling with Troy and Diane to the deck. The ship rocked and rolled about. Everything began to spin in front of Dr. D's eyes. He grew faint, dizzy. There was a terrible wrenching, like the A-train makes pulling into Times Square after a particularly jazzy night in Harlem. Dr. D could feel his body's protons getting jammed into his neutrons. His electrons seemed to be kicked right out of their orbits, sailing around his head dizzily. Quantum fuzzy drive, that's what Spawn had called it, and clearly for good reason. Everything around him, the whole ship and its passengers were getting, well, fuzzy, smeary colors slipping out of their normal outlines and bleeding into the atmosphere. Troy wore a surprised look on his big face. Diane was clinging for dear life onto a handhold. In the compartment above, Spawn was rolling around on the floor, making some sort of apparently gleeful, chortling noises, looking like some kind of demented sea creature. The colors seemed to pulse, shake, and then splinter into 1,000 variations of themselves. All in all, Dr. D realized it was rather like that strange chemical he'd worked on with that Swiss chemist and then taken while listening to Richard Wagner records. What was his name? Hoffman. That was right. The guy had claimed he was going to name it after what Dr. D had hallucinated. His childhood dog, Lucy, capering in the sky among a field of diamonds. Dr. D had also heard a particularly distasteful sort of music in his head during the ingestion of the chemical, and it was based on this that he'd decided the chemical was bad. Electrified guitars jangling with feedback over top a driving jungle beat? Horrible. He'd called it troll music, rocking troll music. Ugh. Now was no time for musical criticism, however. It was time to hang on to one's sanity. He felt like a beetle in a field of rolling stones, clashing about who knew which way, smashing into doors and hammering and rapping about, his very soul ripping his body, splattered by guns and roses. Then he got locked into some exploding bass drum, and his consciousness escaped like a terrified medley, in a manner of speaking.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Doctor, wake up!
Someone slapped him, and the lights came on. He opened his eyes and he looked up. Staring down at him with concerned looks on their faces were the rest of the crew of the space-time ship Mudlark.
Doc, you okay?
That's a nasty bump on your head.
Don't worry, that's just his nose. It's always big and red.
Where are we?
He rose to get a look out of the viewplate. And what was there, if noticeably better than the interior of the prune ship, was nonetheless disconcerting. Stars. They were hanging in space again. Clear space, fortunately, not fuzzy quantum space, but alas, about as far away from Earth as before.
We escaped.
Spawn, let me shake your hand. Or, whatever you use for a hand. That had to be a record rebuilding of a space drive.
At least we knew where we were when we were on the mothership. Now we haven't got the faces.
Oh, don't worry, gang. We still got plenty of fuel, and enough for dinner,
My
too.
ship. I had to go without my ship.
Diane, you keep on working on finding out where we are.
Roger.
Great, I'll go fix dinner.
But not too much. Remember, that's space drive fuel we're eating. Spawn, you come back to the engine with me. Nothing like a bit of brass tacks engineering to take one's mind off one's trouble.
By the dip in the Big Dipper. What is that terrible noise?
The alarm?
Diane Derry was in her usual seat. Only the dials and needles in front of her were going absolutely bonkers. And it was pretty clear why. Standing smack dab in the middle of the viewplates, screening out most of the stars, was a spaceship. It was a conical-looking thing, attached to a sphere, attached to a pyramid, attached to a football field. What looked like wings sprouted from its side at unlikely and certainly non-aerodynamic angles. Indeed, it looked rather like one of those ships from that incredible space battle before. A long worm-like tube extended from the unknown ship, snaking toward the Mudlark.
Dr. Dimension by John DeChancy and David Bischoff. Produced and directed by Steve Ziplo for Ziplo Productions. Featuring the voice talents of John David Rose, Gil Gilbert, Peter Thompson, Candace Cullen, Brad Tholen, Whitney McDaniel, Don Earing, Russell Jones, Betty Starrett, and Steve Ziplo. Engineered by Brad Tholen. Music by Tommy Beaumont.
You've jammed all your rotogyros, and your Gravito initial stabilizers are absolutely useless. I'm afraid this engine is totally screwed up. However, not to despair, for it just so happens that with those Heinz beans you promised me, hope is available.
You mean to fix it?
No, to inspire me to tinker together an entirely new kind of space drive. A quantum fuzzy drive.
Gee, you better make it quick. We've got company.
There's a bunch of strange-looking aliens in robes marching down the corridor with holsters bearing ray guns.
Yikes. I need more time than that. Doctor, you've got to stall them.
Stall them?
Just a few minutes. That's all I need.
Diane and Demetrius were clambering down the ladder as another party of prunish creatures came down the main tube. Behind them marched none other than Doctors Vivian Vernon and Jeffrey Wussman.
It's the professors! They're back!
Glad you made your new affiliation known, doctors. We won't feel so guilty in leaving you behind.
A badly aimed power ray buzzed past Demetrius, sizzling into the hull. He shimmied up the ladder, the air around him distinctly warmer. Something grabbed his leg. He managed to shake it off and flopped into the hatch with the help of Troy's brawny pull. Hastily, Diane pushed the hatch closed.
I don't know how long we can hold them. Spawn, What's going on in there?
Almost finished, Doctor.
Hurry up!
The entirety of the Mudlark shook as though it had been hit by an 8.1 Richter scale earthquake. Dr. D slipped and slid back down the ladder, tumbling with Troy and Diane to the deck. The ship rocked and rolled about. Everything began to spin in front of Dr. D's eyes. He grew faint, dizzy.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Doctor, wake up!
Someone slapped him, and the lights came on. He opened his eyes, and he looked up. Staring down at him with concerned looks on their faces were the rest of the crew of the space-time ship Mudlark.
Where are we?
He rose to get a look out of the viewplate. And what was there, if noticeably better than the interior of the prune ship, was nonetheless disconcerting. Stars.
By the dip in the Big Dipper, what is that terrible noise?
The alarm?
Diane Derry was in her usual seat. Only the dials and needles in front of her were going absolutely bonkers. And it was pretty clear why. Standing smack dab in the middle of the viewplates, screening out most of the stars, was a spaceship. A long worm-like tube extended from the unknown ship, snaking toward the Mudlark.
Dr. Dimension, Episode 11.
Some sort of boarding device. These must be the Pygons. Look at that ship. Why, it's absolutely...
Ludicrous?
You took the words right out of my mouth, Diane. What kind of mind was filled with that kind of contorted mess?
Something between the sublime and the ridiculous. But then again, these are alien minds we're dealing with here.
Yeah, let's just hope they're not as weird as those prudes.
All right, company for dinner?
Pythons, huh? Of course, better than the warthoggers who tend to come in and eat your popcorn and watch your 3D without even saying hello. And of course, far, far preferable to the prudes.
Still, they are the good guys, right?
I suppose you could say that.
But if it's a battle between good and evil, surely the prunes are the bad guys, which logically implies that it's the Pygons that sport the white hat.
I'll leave that for you to decide. Meantime, I'm afraid I owe them a lot of money.
Spawn took a gun from his pocket, put it between his eyes, and pulled the trigger. Green ichor and gray matter splattered against the wall. Spawn flopped over like a bag of alien potatoes. Diane coughed out a cry, never really caring much for splattering alien potatoes.
Please, just don't toss me out into the vacuum. Just stick me in the cabinet. Okie dokie.
This doesn't exactly bode well for our prospects, does it, gang?
Even as he spoke, the hatch banged open. A creature stepped in, looking around imperiously as it did so. The alien was humanoid, no question about that, but the actual nature of his body was difficult to ascertain since it was covered by white robes. However, it was rather vaguely humanoid, but from the shoulders there sprouted what appeared to be birds' wings. The face, however, was far from angelic. 2 dark holes for eyes beneath a greasy cap of black hair, long sideburns, and a pencil-thin mustache.
An angel!
We're dirty faces, man, but thanks for the compliment. These white robes are just our 4-screen spacesuits. They double as bulletproof vests.
No bullets here.
Looks like that guy on the floor ran into one. Not much left of the face to recognize. Must have owed us some money. Well, we'll just take the gun and pawn it or something.
He opened the weapon from Spawn's paw and pocketed it beneath the folds of his bulletproof robe. Then he strolled around, examining the facilities.
Nice little joint you got here. Ever think about doing a little remodeling?
Who are you?
Diane was a little annoyed, and also upset that her fantasy creature appeared to have feet of pepperoni. Actually, when it came right down to it, this guy did rather smell like a hero sandwich, heavy on the oil, vinegar, and oregano.
A nice little card game in here, some slots on this side, and you, honey, yeah, stick in one of the bedrooms. We make a lot of money off of you. What a day!
Diane slapped him, and he stepped back a bit. His wings went up like shields for a moment, and a couple of stirred feathers drifted out of the batch onto the deck. Without warning, he pulled something from beneath his robes, something yellow, stepped forward, and smashed it into Diane's astonished face. It was half a sliced grapefruit.
Wow, that was just like Jimmy Cagney in the movies.
Hey, boys, come on up. They're okay, these folks. They like to play the game.
Well, I guess I'll go stick Spawn in the cabinet like he wanted.
You do that, Troy.
I thought these were the good guys. They're acting like gangsters.
Cosmically speaking, perhaps the gangsters are the good guys. Would you prefer to be back in the cold hands of the prudes?
No!
Meanwhile, several other angelic gangsters stepped through the hatchway, landing inelegantly on the floor, sniffing and peering around like rodents. They were shorter and bulkier than the first, and a good deal grosser looking, with hair sprouting from ratty noses and ratty ears, and the profound odor of garlic emanating from their robes. They all carried violin cases slung around their thick necks.
Hey, boy, never seen a ship as rickety as this one. Ow!
Paisan, have you no manners? It's a good boat, this one. We must not be rude. We are the Paisans. My name is Buzzoid. We're just patrolling the area, shaking some action, collecting protection money, you know? And we hear your distress call.
Diane, do you know anything about a distress call?
A little something I rigged up. I wasn't sure if it worked or not.
It apparently worked quite well. My name is Dr. Demopolis. My companions are Diane Derry and Troy Talbot. And until you showed up, an alien named Spawn.
Spawn? Hey, Fredo, you want to check on the list?
Here we go, boss. Spawn from the planet Squid Bob. $2,322 in back interest and principal on the Aquarius cruiser, plus $500,000 on gambling debt.
Can't hardly take it out of his hide now. Guess we gotta repo his ship. So where's his ship?
I'm afraid we had to abandon it back on the prune mothership, where it was stranded and where we picked up the boat.
No kidding? You guys must have something good going for you.
That's what I was rather hoping to chat with you folks about. You see, we're a little bit lost and would like to find our way home. Unfortunately, we've really got to deal with a little bit of trouble some traitorous associates have stirred up.
You're asking us for help.
I guess so.
We paisans. We don't do something for nothing. What's in it for us, bud?
How about a nice Heinz bean dinner? On spaghetti, with garlic bread if you like, but I'm afraid you'll have to provide those.
Friends.
The interior of the Paisan ship looked like nothing less than a spacefaring casino. As Dr. D and his companions, Troy lugging the bean dinner that they'd promised, walked down the corridor after being ushered into the Paisan ship, Dr. D was amazed at the number of slot machines that lined the halls. From greenly lit rooms came the spinning of roulette wheels, the hushed roll of craps dice, the slap of cards. Smoke hung everywhere, and waitresses in frilly costumes with high hems and low necklines carried cocktails with pink umbrellas sticking out of them to waiting customers who gambled away like there was no tomorrow. Somewhere, crooning orchestras played and comedians joked, all under a tomatoey haze of garlic and excitement.
We call this place Lost Wages. Good joke, huh?
Dr. D didn't really get it, nor did Diane or Troy. However, they figured it was politic to laugh, and so they did. Bugsy grinned happily and sailed on, feet a good foot from the ground, trailing foul cigar smoke.
Say, babe, you know, you'd look awful good in one of those dancers' costumes, kicking those beautiful legs up in the air.
You mean like this?
We got ourselves a spirited filly. The big fella, he likes some sassy.
Just mind your own linguine from now on.
The party continued along the plush carpeting, swishing past plush violet drapes, until they reached a set of double doors, done in fancy carved wood, or whatever it was.
Nice woodwork. That's Rococo designing, isn't it?
No, Rocco. Rocco?
Yeah, Rocco, the big guy's designer.
Who exactly is this big guy you've been talking about?
The paisan you're about to meet. Come on in. Drinks on the house.
They were led into a long, narrow room in which was situated a long, narrow table, highly polished and bracketed by high-backed wooden chairs. At the head of this long table was an older-looking paisan, leaning, a jowly frown, upon one hand, his wings settled and relaxed upon his shoulders. He had on a black tuxedo with a red carnation in one lapel. The man's hair was gray, and he wore a mustache.
Don Delamonte, may I introduce our guests? This guest is our godfather, Don Delamonte.
Welcome to my spaceship. Please, sit. Make yourselves comfortable. What planet do you come from? I do not believe I am familiar with the Genoa-type barometer show.
You mean genotype?
Genoa-type, like Bologna-type and Milano-type. Doctor, can you shut her up?
No, sorry.
I was afraid of that. Oh, well, same with my wife, huh?
You know, you remind me a lot of mobster folks I know. In fact, dollars to donuts, I'd say you were mobsters.
Troy, that's nonsense. The mob is an Earth phenomenon. How could there be mobsters in space?
The mob is not a phenomenon. It is a metaphysical state of being. We paisans, we're just more advanced in concept and practice. We run our empire according to the old ways. We get things done, huh? And you know what? We're the good guys.
Thank God.
So, your organization pretty much runs the galaxy?
We don't want to run everything. Just all the gambling, sex, contraband substances. You know, the stuff that intelligent beings everywhere in the universe like a lot. We're a business, and we do pretty well, too.
Except for the problem with the prunes.
Those bulldozers, we don't want none of their action. They can't keep their world. They're the ones who come and bust up our operations and open up Sunday schools and tell us how to live our lives. We know how to live our lives, and we live good lives. We have some fun. We have some action on the side, sure. Maybe a few people get hurt. Go into a vacuum with some in spacesuits from time to time. Hey, that's the business, huh? What's the hurt? People get to gamble a little, play a little, drink a little, fool around a little. But they all still go to worship on their respective alien Sabbath mornings. So the big guy upstairs, he don't mind. But these guys, they come and they tell our people naughty, naughty, all natural urges. They're dirty. They want our lives to be boring. No vino, no action, no hoochie-coochie, you know what I mean? So they try to push us around with their big ships. And so we gotta push them around a little. And kabash, we got Titanic space battles. We don't like Titanic space battles. We like nice little alley fights with knives and garrotes. Tradition. All these power rays and beams and cosmic weaponry. It makes us sick. We just want him to leave us alone.
The poor guy seemed to be about to dissolve into tears, but he recomposed himself as his flunkies brought in the coffee and treats for the guests. When all was poured and handed out, and the serving folk bowed and slunk away, Dr. D gave the head paisan a moment to compose himself.
I can certainly sympathize with you. You were stuck on the mothership. That's what Bugzoid says. Nobody ever leaves that place. How did you get away?
Beans?
No, not the sacred beans.
Yes, that and a pretty advanced space drive. But look, Mr. Delamonte, you seem to be an honest, let's just say reasonable fellow. You've got some trouble. We've got some trouble.
Because of these prunes.
Well, we've got a little more immediate problem. But I think that if you help us, we can help you, huh? How about a little deal?
Deal? You speak our language. This deal, there's something in it for us.
Don Delamonte?
It's a deal you can't refuse. Let me get this straight. You took a couple of your own with you who've turned stoolie. They want to take the prunes to your planet and conquer it.
That's right. Vivian Vernon and Jeffrey Wussman, the rotters.
What kind of people are these that they would rat on their own race? Especially the uptight scum like the Prunes.
Hardcore academics looking for scholastic power.
So, what you want us to do is help you stop the Prunes by blowing the mothership. How the hell we gonna do that?
Well, I figure you let me into your super science workshops, and I'll whip up some sort of power beam.
Don't you think we'd have done that by now if we could? Don't you think we got our own scientist here?
Yeah, but not like the doctor. He can't handle a screwdriver worth beans, but he's an incredible whiz at the theory part of it.
Exactly. As long as I've known him, he's always complained about the primitiveness of earthly technology. Why, just last month he was saying, "My goodness, Diane, if I could use some of the advanced monsteroid technology, I'd have the whole universe at my feet." Right, Doc?
Exactly. And by the way, I'm very impressed indeed at the level of your engineering. Ours, as you can no doubt tell, is quite primitive. Perhaps you might take the Mudlark into your shops and do a little bit of refitting or whatnot?
We could add a little chrome here and there. And the ugly thing could use a bit of expansion, streamlining, maybe some mag hubcaps, a fancy pair of dice to hang on the rearview mirror, maybe a turret laser in the back for those little police problems.
Just the thing, Don.
Look, my question is, what do we get, huh? I mean, what's in it for the boys and me?
I know just the thing. You look like reasonable, rational souls. You don't want to conquer another planet, do you? No, of course not. All you want is a little action. So here's the deal. I'll put you in contact with the mobster folks on our planet, and they'll cut you in on a piece of the action.
Why should they do that? They stupid or something?
Because with those power rays, you can turn them all into fried pizzas if they don't.
Yeah, I like the style of your reasoning. Meantime, we deal a painful blow against the Prunes. Maybe teach them a thing or two about stepping into our territory.
That's right. You see, we all win, Don. But first, let me fiddle a little bit in these workshops you mentioned.
Dr. Dimension by John DeChancy and David Bischoff. Produced and directed by Steve Ziplo for Ziplo Productions. Featuring the voice talents of John David Rose, Gil Gilbert, Porter Thompson, Candace Cullen, Brad Tholen, Whitney McDaniel, John Earing, Russell Jones, Betty Starrett, and Steve Ziplo. Engineered by Brad Tholen. Music by Tommy Beaumont.
Get this straight. You took a couple of your own with you who've turned stooly. They want to take the Prunes to your planet and conquer it.
That's right. Vivian Vernon and Jeffrey Wussman, the rotters.
Hardcore academics looking for scholastic power.
So, what you want us to do is help you stop the prunes by blowing the mothership. My question is, what do we get, huh? I mean, what's in it for the boys and me?
I'll put you in contact with the mobster folks on our planet, and they'll cut you in on a piece of the action.
Yeah, meantime, we deal a painful blow against the prunes. Maybe teach them a thing or two about stepping into our territory.
That's right. You see, we all win, Don.
Dr. Dimension, Episode 12.
I like the style of your reasoning.
But first, let me fiddle a little bit in these workshops you mentioned.
Yeah, no problem.
He swiveled and hit a switch. A great door opened. Naked light bulbs hanging from the ceiling turned on, illuminating rows of tables overflowing with an odd metallic garden of unclassifiable junk.
Sometimes, the civilizations we put our slots and games and stuff into, they can't make their payments in time. So what do? They give us what they can. We got art. We don't like to knock heads or break kneecaps unless we got to, huh? So we take this junk, figuring maybe someday, hey, it might be useful or something.
There were all kinds of machines and gizmos and whatnots. Cut glass and weird alloys and alien gems gleamed and glittered in the harsh light. There was the smell of exotic desserts here, and the taste of cold minerals. Dr. D could see pieces of robots and androids poking from the junk, as though somehow disinterred from a cemetery.
It's all yours, Doc. It'll take a couple of days to do a number on that sad boat of yours. Think you can whip up something by then?
Tools. I'll need tools. Soldering irons, screwdrivers, wires.
I'll send in a couple of my hitmen. That's why we call them mechanics. They'll fit you out good. Now, I'll let you go about your business, and you can be sure that I'll tend to your ship in a way that will make your mission back to the prunes effective as possible. Sure.
What a treasure trove. Let's do see what exactly we have here, huh?
What they had there was the most astonishing amount of stuff that Dr. Dimopoulos had ever seen in his life. There were mechanisms of such clearly alien nature that he didn't really have the faintest what they were or what they did. Item by item, he examined them. There were motors, odd weapons, and decidedly strange kitchen appliances by the score. But for the life of him, Dr. D didn't have the faintest how they could be used singly or collectively against the prunes. He reached down and pulled what appeared to be a pair of spectacles from a tangle of wires and popsicle sticks. The eyeglasses were plastic, connected to a coil of spring, connected to fake bloodshot eyeballs. The thing appeared to be just something out of a novelty ad from a pulp magazine, the old eyeballs popping from the fake spectacles gag. $1.98 plus postage and shipping.
Hey, Diane, look. I'm a bug-eyed monster.
Take those ridiculous things off this instant.
Wow, these things are weird. It's like I'm looking through a pair of kaleidoscopes.
Alien novelty items are bound to have alien novelty tricks.
Gee, my head feels funny. It's all tingly. Doc, I think I finally understand that theory of relativity thing. It's not about family.
No, you simpleton. It's not.
Troy, take those ridiculous things off this instant.
Hey, Doc, look at that thing underneath that pile over there. That looks interesting, huh?
What? Oh, you mean that pile of coat hangers and go-cups?
No, that.
Suddenly, the mess was lifted up by an invisible force.
That's impossible. How did you move that entire pile, Troy?
I don't know, Doc, but these glasses are making me think really strange things.
Take those glasses off this instant. They bother me.
Gosh, Diane, I can see right through your sweater.
No kidding? Let me see.
He grabbed the glasses, took his own off, and fitted them around his ears and on his nose. He pushed the eyeballs back into place, and almost instantly, something other than cheap metal and plastics clicked. It was as though his brain were a car and he'd always driven in first or second gears, never realizing that there were other, higher gears. He looked at Diane a moment, but was much more interested in more cerebral matters. He turned and stared out over the field of trashed artifacts. Suddenly, he recognized them. Suddenly, he understood the meaning and importance of each and every item.
What garbage.
I forgot to tell you, this stuff is mostly trash. But over there, under that pile of petrified automatic dryer lint, there's something that appears to be a positronic particle goosser gun.
Dr. D turned toward where Troy had pointed, and it was as though someone had turned on an entirely new and different kind of light over the entire room. Everything seemed much clearer, sharper, with startlingly deep outlines. He could see things so clearly that he could almost make out their molecular structure. But what was unique about the device, and now he understood perfectly how a clod like Troy could recognize alien articles, were the little labeled red arrows in the air now, pointing toward things and labeling them in clear and legible English. Yes, there was a pile of petrified automatic dryer lint, and underneath it, as advertised, was a rifle-shaped thing labeled Positronic Particle Goosser Gun.
Yes, most marvelous. The lenses of these glasses somehow focus not only one's mental acuity and thought energy into an actual physical force, hence the levitation and eyesight, but are able to increase the level of one's latent psi powers. According to the labels I can read with these glasses, I can see a lot of raw materials around here, and with the tools that Don Delamonte will provide. However, I am not entirely satisfied with this as a weapon.
Gee, what are you going to do, Doc?
Troy, hand me that hacksaw there.
Troy Talbot held the spectacles braced in his powerful hands. It was but the work of a few strong back-and-forth movements of the hacksaw. The blade went through the frame with surprising ease. Not only was it plastic, it was apparently cheap plastic.
I've come up with a brilliant idea. Thanks to these glasses, we know what all this stuff is here. Inner workings right down to the molecular structure. These spectacles, however, were not able to analyze themselves until now. Voila! Incredible! Astonishing! Marvelous!
Stop staring at my chest and get
The group worked for hours, going through most of the junk in the room. Troy and Diane, at Dr. D's suggestion, took a little snooze. Upon waking, excited, expecting some wonderful new death ray or something truly stupendous, Dr. D did, after all, deal in largely outrageous inventions. They were surprised at what the doc had concocted.
Is that it, Doctor?
What did you expect?
I don't know. Something big. Something nasty looking. Something that has some panache and power to it.
Gee, Doc, it looks like something you got in a Cracker Jack box.
Behold, assistants, I proudly present the magnetic monocle.
He held in his hand what looked like nothing more than the sort of magnifying glasses utilized by Sherlock Holmes in silly stage versions of the Arthur Conan Doyle stories. As he stared at them, though, the lens was a kaleidoscope of color and movement, Walt Disney's Fantasia in fast forward. The lens was wrapped in a frame much more complex than the plastic version that inspired it. There were all sorts of zigzags and doodads of electronic paraphernalia. Connecting the stem of the monocle to a power pack on the doctor's back was a long series of curlicued wire. On the power pack was a single vacuum tube, pulsing purple vibrantly.
How is that silly-looking thing going to stop the prudes from conquering Earth?
When placed up to my eye like so, not only do I look rather dashing, but my thought waves are channeled through it, focused into a vortex, channeled through the processes of my back, and then directed outward again by the lenses of the glasses by the directional vector of my latent psi forces.
How's that going to deal with the incredible powers the prunes clearly have?
Let me show you something, my dear. Where did I put it? Oh, yes, here. You see this pocket flashlight? Watch. When I turn it on, it illuminates, say, that dark corner over there. When I shut it off, the corner is dark again. A simple, ordinary light beam, correct? So it would seem. Well, if my theory is correct and soldering skill is accurate, then something interesting should happen here.
He placed the light up to the lens, directed it, and clicked the power on. The small bulb shone brightly, and brighter still as it accumulated in the crystalline cache of the lens. Round and round it rolled through the glass, vortexing out and then streaming on the edges, up and up and up through the wires it shot, glowing. Then, in an instant exultation of exhalation, the light flamed out from the lens in a coherent flash of concentrated energy. It sounded like a god clearing his throat. It laid waste to everything in its path, cutting a biting swath through metal and plastic and glass.
My word! Whatever was that?
I shall call it a laser.
What?
Sounds like an anagram. Let's see. Light amplified through stimulated emission of radiation?
I was thinking more along the lines of, let's attack the sucking extraterrestrial.
Yahoo! Geronimo!
That's the spirit.
You know, Jeffrey, I think that since you've become the mystic of the two of us, we should adjust accordingly in our plans toward Earth.
She gave him a good sound whack across the fleshy part of his buttocks as he knelt in the prune's version of the lotus, the bum mantra. His posterior sticking out like that was simply too much of a temptation for poor Vivian. Besides, it seemed entirely appropriate for the Prunian mystical path that Jeffrey was taking anyway, and it allowed her to vent her natural sadistic tendencies.
Aren't you listening to me?
Oh, sorry. I was lost in blissful chant.
You've gotten mystical, Jeffrey, and I'm not entirely sure if that's going to sit well with the duties and responsibilities necessary in running centers for the pursuit of excellence in academic applications. By the way, I thought the proper chant was Om.
Sorry, Freudian slip.
In fact, Dr. Wussman seemed entirely oblivious to everything around him. He'd been this way the whole time since he'd had that vision of his, and while on some levels Vivian found it enjoyable to take advantage of his distraction, a zoned-out Jeffrey was admittedly getting a tad boring. Ever since that nasty little scene with old Demetrius and his odious companions escaping somehow, they just kind of shivered off into nothingness, leaving the prunes all befuddled. It had taken a great deal of verbal tap dancing to convince the old Grand Prune that she and Jeffrey had not been conspirators in that escape. Jeffrey had just sort of withdrawn, leaving everything to her. He just sort of knelt there in that kneeling position, spouting off all manner of religious gibberish of an incoherent Prunian cast. Sermonish stuff like sinners in the hands of a breakfast cereal-hating God and talk of the damned of the universe writhing in lakes of hot oatmeal with no milk or sugar. It was positively weird. No way did she want him to be in charge of anything important in any of her universities.
At any rate, Jeffrey, I thought that rather than split up the colleges and such among us, you can head up all the departments of religion and philosophy, and I can relieve you of all those awful duties and responsibilities attendant to dealing with the rest of that nonsense. You'll get a nice little salary, a nice cold cloister to pray and meditate in, the promise of at least one scouring a week by yours truly, and all the bread and water you can eat and drink. Rich rewards for a man who's clearly become a matchless ascetic.
Yes, dear. Sounds delightful. And did I tell you about the prune over deity X-lax and the punishment that will meet those who do not swallow his holy message? For behold, those wretched souls shall slide down the holy lower intestines and be defecated down the tubes of eternal despair.
Indeed, Jeffrey. Cheerful stuff. The masses will eat it up. You'll have a wonderful time upon the planet Earth with that delightful message.
I trust, Vivian, that you are heeding my words sufficiently to take the appropriate spiritual action.
Indeed. Aren't you happy with the purging qualities of the purging I'm giving you?
I have great concern for your soul, Vivian, for you know we used to sin greatly. I especially, I admit, for I had great amounts of lust for you.
Used to?
I've given up the baser elements of my nature, sacrificed them on the altar of decency and prudence. Thank you for the departments of philosophy and religion. Thus, I will disseminate the wisdom and vision of total sexual abstinence upon the whole of the earth.
Come on now, Jeffrey. Surely you don't buy that stuff. I mean, how do the prunes reproduce if they don't fool around once in a while?
None of my business.
All well and good, but you're a scientist, man. Don't you have any curiosity on the subject?
I am born upon the wings of uplifting spirituality. I am swallowed up by the blissful allness of self-denial.
This was serious. Maybe she should show him some thigh or something, flash him some flesh. That would get his pot cooking. Still, in any event, he wasn't complaining about her getting the top spot in the universities they were going to control once the prunes conquered Earth. She never got a chance to implement any bid for sexual attention, however, because the Grand Prune chose that moment to make his entrance, along with his royal train.
And what visionary triumph have you enjoyed today, newly anointed one?
I went unto the mountain peak, and there I saw the angel of uprightness, and he saith, heedeth the words of the prune, for they run like delicious from the dried plum, and they maketh the bowels to run fast and quick.
Excellent!
Oh, why don't you two commune, and I'll just go and use the neuters
No,
room.
Vivian Human. We must discuss certain necessary matters. It is becoming more and more obvious to us that while your pulmonary organ sings in the correct place, you haven't got the faintest idea where this home planet of yours is.
What, Earth? I gave you specific instructions.
As I explicitly recall, when showed a model of the galaxy you titled the Milky Way, you simply pointed one of your extensor digits toward a cluster containing thousands of suns, to say nothing of planets, and said, somewhere in there. Your description of your system lacks somewhat as well. Nebraska? Now tell me, Vivian Human, what are we to make of that?
Nebraska, Grand Prune. Everybody knows where Nebraska is. It's right by Iowa.
For behold, saith X-Lax, I shall create the center of the universe, and it shall be called Omaha.
Well, you can quote all you like, but that won't help us find the blasted place, and I need remind you, Vivian Human, if we do not find the Earth, you cannot have your universities.
Yes, there was the rub. If only they'd been able to capture Dr. Dimopoulos, he'd know. They'd be able to torture the information out of him easy enough. She would have shown them his most sensitive spots. She knew that she wouldn't be able to put up with this barren hellhole much longer. It was so boring here that she was afraid that she'd fall asleep sometime and simply not care to wake up anymore, which wasn't like Dr. Vivian Vernon at all.
Well, you're the one with the super science. Haven't you found a number of possibilities?
A mere 510.
Well, you should have said something. That's an easy enough number to handle. I'll just go on up to your map room and have a look. I'm sure it will prove more interesting than hanging around here listening to Jeffrey drone on and on with his mystical nonsense.
That would be extremely helpful.
Why do I get the feeling that you don't believe me?
What proof have you offered us even the existence of this planet you call Earth? For all we know, this is all part of a plot. Yes, a complex and sinister Paisan plot to undermine our holy domination of the galaxy.
You're paranoid.
Perhaps. But we had better find the location of Earth soon, or you both will suffer dire consequences.
Look, pal, I don't care who you are. Nobody talks to me like that.
Get back, foolish creature, or meet the wrath of the mighty Broom.
Yeah? You and what army? You scrawny, quivering little creature.
Although Vivian was pretty peeved, she was still under control. She knew it wasn't exactly wise to commit violence upon the person of the prune leader. Nonetheless, it was her understanding that a stance of defiance, albeit mild, was always considered a stance of strength. It was best that the Grand Prune and the other prunes never consider her weak-willed, or how long would they allow her to hang on to her precious universities? So she stepped up to the Grand Prune, squared her shoulders proudly, extended her hand, and flicked a finger at the tip of the Groucho Marx mask the creature wore. The rubber band that held it on snapped. The mask fell off.
Oh, my God!
Dr. Dimension by John DeChancy and David Bischoff. Produced and directed by Steve Ziplo for Ziplo Productions.
Well, folks, that's all for this episode here on Randy's Old Time Radio Shows. Now, bringing these golden oldies back to life takes no small amount of time and effort from our good friend Randy, cleaning up the audio, converting the files, and making sure each show has the best audio possible. If you've enjoyed the program and you'd like to help keep these classics on the airwaves night after night, why not consider a small donation? Every penny goes straight to supporting Randy's work and helping this channel stay on the air. You'll find the links down in the description below. And for those of you kind souls who've already given, Randy tips his fedora to you. Your support truly keeps this old radio spirit alive. Thanks ever so much. And until next time, keep those dials tuned and keep the memories rolling.